What's happening, everybody? Jeff Lightsy Jr. here with the Ball Sports Network. Thank you guys for the continued support. Continue to hit the like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because I upload videos every single day. Now, this is a very interesting quote coming from Michael Jordan. So, Michael Jordan did an interview with a thing called the Cigar Aficionado. I guess it's a podcast, I don't know, an interview, whatever. He did it back in 2017. They released some audio of the original podcast in 2017, but now they're pulling out more audio, I guess, that they didn't release back then, and it's being printed, and it's about Michael Jordan playing in the social media era. This is a quote from the Cigar Aficionado. It says, from Michael Jordan, he says, quote, "I do not know if I could have survived in the Twitter era where you don't have the privacy that you want and you seem to be very innocent. What seems to be very innocent can sometimes be misinterpreted." Now, to me, that is very, very interesting because here's why. We've seen what social media has done to athletes for their career. We've seen what it done to hurt them in their career, specifically in the NBA, right? If we go back to the number one blemish on LeBron James's almost flawless NBA resume is the 2011 finals. Every other thing you really talk about, especially it's really the finals losses, the biggest blemish on his resume, but not just the 6 finals losses. The one in 2011 is his biggest blemish. And what LeBron kind of used as an excuse to why he played so bad is that he was on social media too much. He was letting the critics of social media get to him. And we know how that can be. We know that guys, keyboard warriors, can get behind Twitter or Instagram comments or whatever and really get at folks. Like really get really nasty at folks. It happened to me. I've had people call me dumb and stuff, and I ain't nearly on the level of a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan or whoever. So people get really bold behind the keyboard, get really bold behind the phone. And so that was LeBron's downfall, and so that's why he goes into zero dark 30 mode and during the playoffs where he cuts off all social media. He's been doing that from 2012 up until this playoff simply because of the COVID and everything. He didn't do that this season. But to hear Michael Jordan say that he doesn't know that he could have played in this era, to me, gives more testament to guys like LeBron James, who's had an incredible amount of success all during the social media era. Right? Like from 2009 on, LeBron James, I guess 2009 would really be when Twitter got popping, but Facebook was around before that. And then since then, Instagram has been inserted. And since then, Snapchat has been inserted. And since then, name your favorite streaming, Twitch and YouTube has blown up and all these different social media platforms. Facebook has even gotten even more ginormous. To hear Michael Jordan say he doesn't know if he's played is kind of interesting because we saw The Last Dance. We saw that the criticism is part of the reason why Michael Jordan retired the first time, right? You got the death of his father, which was, RIP, his father, in combination with the death of his father, the gambling rumors and all the press that bad press he was getting from that is part of why Jordan retired that first time. And just think about that. That's just from newspapers to get printed once a day. Think about the 24-hour cycle Michael Jordan would have been on if you go gambling during the middle of a playoff game at 2 in the morning, right? Or if you have food poisoning the night before a finals game. Or if not to say Jordan wasn't still a killer. Let's just not get it twisted. Michael Jordan was going out gambling at 3 in the morning and then come back, drop 50 on your head. He was a dog. He was just different. But I wonder how that would have played up, how that would have affected him if he is caught gambling at 3 in the morning by people on Snapchat or Twitter and his stuff is circulating through social media, how he would have reacted. How mentally, because we're talking about the most mentally tough player in most people's minds ever, right? He fought through the death of his dad to come back and win 3 more championships. He fought through, the hand checking and everything that was just so much harder during the 90s and the 80s during his era, and still rose to the top of the mountaintop 6 times in an 8-year span, right? And he is admitting he doesn't know if he would have been able to make it through this time. Because we don't get this very often. Most old heads that played in the 80s and the 90s, they like to say that their stuff was better. Everything we did was better. Better. Folks is soft. Folks is whatever. They letting this stuff get to them. And now we have the greatest player ever to play basketball, which I tell me he's the greatest player ever to play basketball, saying, I don't know if I would have survived in the Twitter era. This is his quote. Quote, I don't know if I could have survived in this Twitter era. That is wild to me. Maybe Jordan isn't as mentally tough as a lot of folks think, because he's admitting it. And we've seen what Twitter or social media has done, not only to players. I brought up the Lebron incident, but not even talking about Kevin Durant made burners. He responds to people on fake accounts. Twitter got a GM for the Sixers fired. He was doing fake accounts and responding to folks and talking about his own players on his own team. Got him fired. Kevin Durant made fake accounts and accidentally tweeted from a third-party one. We've seen Twitter expose, ruin relationships. Twitter, Nick Young, D'Angelo Russell got Nick Young broken up from his fiance. Twitter's literally done this, and for some reason it particularly happens to NBA players. Twitter and social media got Odell caught when he was in Miami as an NFL part right before the playoffs. So it is different, man. These guys are under a different microscope as far as the social media era. And to hear Michael Jordan admit he wouldn't have been able to play in this era is vastly, very, very intriguing to me. Let me know your thoughts on Jordan's quote. I'm going to read it one more time. Quote, I don't know if I could have survived in this Twitter era where you don't have the privacy and that you'd want. And what seemed to be very innocent can always be misinterpreted. Very interesting quote from Michael Jordan. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Ball Sports Network. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next time.